Something happens to women when they hit 40 that nobody wants to talk about. One day she's making breakfast for the kids, folding laundry, planning family vacations. The next day, she's downloading dating apps, buying lingerie, and texting some guy from the gym. And you're standing there wondering what the hell just happened to your wife. It's happening everywhere. Millions of men are seeing their steady, dependable wives transform into teenagers with wrinkles. And the worst part, everyone acts surprised when it happens, like we didn't see the warning signs written in her biology years ago. You think you know your woman? You think because she's been with you for 15 years, raised your kids, built a life together, that she's somehow immune to what's coming. Brother, you're living in a fantasy. There's a ticking time bomb in every woman's psychology, and it goes off somewhere between 35 and 45. Not might go off, will go off. The only question is how much damage it does when it explodes. Men often fail to realize that when a woman hits 40, she isn't the same person you married. I'm not talking about maturity or wisdom or any of that nonsense. I'm talking about a fundamental rewiring of her brain chemistry, her priorities, her entire sense of self. The woman who was perfectly content being a mother and wife at 30 becomes desperately hungry for validation at 40. And that hunger makes her do things that destroy everything you've built together. You see, yes, every woman's self-worth is built on a foundation of sand. Her looks. From the moment she's born, society tells her that her value equals her beauty. Be pretty, be desirable, be wanted. That's the programming. And for 20 years, from 15 to 35, this program runs perfectly. Men chase her, compliments flow freely. She feels valuable. Then biology does what biology always does. It takes away what it gave. At 40, she looks in the mirror and sees a stranger. Not because she looks terrible, but because she looks different. The face that launched 1,000 ships now struggles to turn a single head. The body that made men stupid now gets polite smiles at best. And this isn't about vanity. This is about identity collapse. Her entire sense of self was built on being desired. And now that desire is evaporating like morning dew. Think about it like this. Imagine you're a professional athlete. Your whole identity, your self-worth, everything is tied to your physical performance. Then age catches up. You're not terrible, but you're not what you were. You can't do what you used to do. Now, multiply that psychological crisis by 10, and you'll understand what's happening in your wife's head when she realizes her beauty is fading. But here's where it gets dangerous. Instead of accepting this natural process, instead of gracefully transitioning into a new phase of life, modern women panic. They rage against reality. They declare war on time itself. And the first casualty in this war, your marriage. At 22, a compliment is background noise. She rolls her eyes. Yeah, whatever. I know I'm hot. But when a 42-year-old gets that same compliment, her brain explodes with dopamine. Finally, proof she still got it. Validation that she's not invisible. That single compliment from a stranger becomes more valuable than 10 years of your devotion. Why? Because your devotion is obligated. His attention is chosen. This is the dirty secret nobody tells you. Married women over 40 are the easiest targets for seduction. Not because they're bad people, but because they're starving for something you can't give them anymore. The thrill of being chosen by someone who doesn't have to choose them. Your attention doesn't count because you're locked in, you're married, you have kids together. What are you going to do? Not find your wife attractive? But that random guy at the coffee shop who smiles at her, that's pure validation. That's proof she's still in the game. And once she gets that first taste of outside validation, it's over. Not immediately, but inevitably. Because now she knows what she's been missing. Now she remembers what it felt like to be pursued, to be desired, to be someone's fantasy instead of someone's reality. And that memory becomes an itch that your stable, predictable love can never scratch. You want to know the exact moment your marriage enters the danger zone? It's when she starts talking about her past with a smile instead of embarrassment. When she mentions her ex-boyfriends, not with disgust, but with nostalgia. When she tells stories about her single days with sparkling eyes instead of relief that they're over, that's when you know the countdown has begun. Here's the brutal biology lesson they don't teach in school. A woman's brain literally rewires itself as she ages. The chemical reward system that made her feel alive at 25, by 45, it's running on fumes. What used to flood her with pleasure hormones now barely creates a ripple. Think about it. At 20, holding hands made her heart race. At 40, she needs an emotional earthquake just to feel a tremor. Her neurological pathways have changed so drastically that your romantic dinner feels like watching paint dry. That weekend getaway you planned, her brain processes it as routine maintenance. Those intimate moments you've perfected over years, they register like background noise. She needs increasingly extreme stimulation to feel anything at all. And you, my friend, are the opposite of extreme. You're comfortable, you're safe, you're neurologically invisible. This is why women's most vicious betrayals happen after 35. Not because they're evil, but because they're desperate to feel alive again, desperate to matter, desperate to be more than someone's aging wife. The same woman who would have been satisfied holding hands at 20 needs a full emotional affair at 40 just to feel a spark. The same woman who was loyal for 15 years suddenly becomes capable of cruelties you couldn't imagine. I've seen it countless times. The devoted mother of 3 who runs off with her personal trainer. The church-going wife who starts an affair with her husband's best friend. The perfect woman who blows up her entire life for some guy she met online. And every time the husband says the same thing, "I never saw it coming." Really? You never noticed her staring at herself in the mirror with disgust? You never saw her light up when strange men noticed her. You never felt her pulling away emotionally while going through the motions physically. The signs are always there, but men are blind to them. It starts with nostalgia. She begins romanticizing her past, talking about her wild years with a sparkle that wasn't there before. Old photos get pulled out. Stories about ex-boyfriends shift from embarrassment to wistful remembering. She's not living in the present anymore. She's mourning a past it's gone. Then come the new friends. Specifically divorced women who found themselves. These aren't friends. They're dealers pushing a drug called "You Deserve Better." They gather for wine nights that are really grievance sessions, comparing notes on how oppressed they were, how much happier they are now. Your stable marriage gets reframed as a prison through their poisonous lens. Social media becomes her new reality, hours scrolling through carefully curated lives, comparing her behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. The algorithm learns what she wants to see. Transformation stories, brave women starting over, love after 40. Every scroll confirms what her panicking brain wants to believe. Everyone else is living better, and it's not too late to join them. The physical changes come in waves. First, it's subtle maintenance, new skincare routines, hair treatments, procedures, as she swore she'd never do. Then escalation, drastic diets, obsessive exercise, clothes that belong in her daughter's closet. She's not trying to look good, she's trying to look young. There's desperation in every purchase, every workout, every selfie angle she practices in the mirror. Finally, the emotional withdrawal. She needs space, me time, mysterious commitments that didn't exist before. She's either picking fights constantly or eerily pleasant. Both are bad signs. One means she's building a case against you. The other means she's managing guilt about what she's already doing or planning to do. You know what really infuriates me? Society encourages this destruction. Every magazine, every talk show, every therapist tells her she deserves to be happy. She needs to find herself. She should never settle. They validate her panic, encourage her rebellion, celebrate her destruction of the family. They tell her that her feelings matter more than her commitments. Her happiness matters more than her children's stability. Her desires matter more than the devastation she causes. Nobody tells her the truth. That beauty fades for everyone. That attention is a drug you need to quit. That building something lasting matters more than chasing something fleeting. Nobody tells her that the excitement she's chasing is just brain chemistry, not meaning. The butterflies she misses are just anxiety, not love. That the passion she craves is just novelty, not depth. Instead, they pump her full of empowerment nonsense. You go, girl. Live your truth. Follow your heart. As if a 40-year-old woman following her hormones is any different than a 16-year-old boy following his. Both are slaves to biology. Both make terrible decisions. Both destroy everything for a temporary high. And you're expected to understand, to be supportive, to give her space, to work on yourself. As if any amount of working on yourself can compete with the thrill of being desired by someone new. You could become the perfect husband tomorrow and it wouldn't matter. Because they're not her friends. They're her dealers. They feed her poison disguised as wisdom. You deserve better. Life's too short. You only live once. They're pushing her toward the cliff because they need company at the bottom. They need validation that they made the right choice. And nothing validates a bad decision like watching someone else make the same one. Watch what happens when your wife starts spending more time with divorced women. Suddenly, every normal marital issue becomes abuse. Every routine becomes oppression. Every responsibility becomes sacrifice. These women reframe her entire life through the lens of victimhood. Your normal, stable marriage becomes a prison she needs to escape. Your reasonable expectations become unreasonable demands. Your decade of support becomes a decade of suppression. And social media. That's like throwing gasoline on a bonfire. She's not comparing her marriage to other marriages. She's comparing her real life to digital fantasies, filtered photos, and carefully crafted lies. The algorithm becomes her therapist, feeding her exactly what her panicking brain wants to hear. That leaving is brave, staying is settling, and happiness is just one dramatic decision away. The reality she doesn't see is the aftermath. They don't show the woman 6 months later after the new boyfriend turned out to be just another flawed human. They don't show her spending Christmas alone because the kids chose to stay with dad. They don't show her realizing that starting over at 40 isn't liberating. It's exhausting. They don't show her understanding that she traded a deep connection for shallow attention, a real partnership for a temporary high. You see, yes, men age completely differently psychologically. When a man hits 40, society tells him he's entering his prime. Silver fox, distinguished, finally has resources and experience. His value in the dating market often increases. He knows this, feels that men face aging with confidence. Women face it with terror. That's why male midlife crises are usually about reclaiming youth through toys and adventures. Female midlife crises are about denying aging through destroying everything that reminds them time has passed, including the family that represents their years spent as just a wife and mother. A 45-year-old man knows he can still attract women if he wanted. That knowledge alone is often enough. He doesn't need to act on it. A 45-year-old woman believes her last chance at being desired is slipping away. That desperation makes her act on every opportunity, real or imagined. This isn't about fairness or equality. It's about recognizing that men and women face aging with completely different psychological frameworks. And those differences drive completely different behaviors. His crisis embarrasses him. Her crisis destroys families. You know what really gets me? The way these women rewrite history after they leave. Suddenly, your entire marriage becomes a lie. We were never really happy. I was pretending the whole time. He was always controlling. Every good memory gets deleted. Every minor argument becomes abuse. She needs to paint. He had photos, videos, love letters she'd written just months before leaving. Happy family vacations, romantic anniversaries, declarations of eternal love. But now, all fake, according to her. She was pretending the whole time. Really, for 18 years, the truth is simpler. She needed him to be the bad guy so she could be the hero of her story. And the kids, they become collateral damage in her war against aging. She tells herself they'll understand. They'll adjust. They want her to be happy. But kids don't care about their parents' happiness. They care about stability, predictability, both parents being there. Her midlife panic matters more to her than their emotional security. They'll spend years in therapy trying to understand why mom's need to feel young was more important than their need for an intact family. You know what's fascinating? The timing is always the same. Right when the kids are old enough to not need constant care, when she finally has time to breathe, when life should be getting easier, that's when she explodes. Because now she has time to think. Time to compare her life to others. Time to scroll through Instagram and see what she's missing. Time to remember who she used to be before diapers and school runs and soccer practice. And that person she remembers, she was young, desired, full of potential. The person she is now, a mom, a wife, ordinary. The gap between memory and reality becomes unbearable. That's the point. She's not comparing her life to reality. She's comparing it to a fantasy. The fantasy of eternal youth, endless excitement, perpetual desire. She's comparing her real husband to imaginary men who would worship her properly. She's comparing her real life to the highlights reel of everyone else's social media. She's comparing her 40-year-old reality to her 25-year-old dreams. And reality always loses to fantasy. You need to understand this. The most dangerous moment in any marriage is when she starts getting attention from a specific man, not men in general. 1. Maybe it's a coworker who compliments her new haircut. Maybe it's an old flame who finds her on Facebook. Maybe it's her trainer who tells her she looks amazing. Doesn't matter who. What matters is that suddenly she has a face to attach to her fantasies. Now it's not just I could have other options. It's he could be an option. And once that seed is planted, it grows like cancer. She'll swear it's innocent, just friends, just catching up, just professional. But you'll notice changes. She mentions his name too often or never at all. She's protective of her phone. She has explanations for things you didn't question. She's either picking fights with you constantly or being unusually nice. Both are signs. One means she's building justification to leave. The other means she's managing guilt. The truth is, once a woman starts down this path, there's no saving the relationship. Oh, she might come back after her adventure crashes and burns, after the new guy turns out to be just another man, after the excitement wears off and reality sets in. She might come crawling back, crying about her mistakes, begging for forgiveness. But it's already over. I know women who destroyed 20-year marriages for 3 months of passion with someone they met at the gym, not because their husbands were bad, but because their husbands were familiar. And familiar doesn't get a 40-year-old woman high anymore. You want to know the sick part? Many of these women know exactly what they're doing. They know they're destroying their families. They know they're traumatizing their children. They know they're throwing away something real for something temporary. But they do it anyway because the fear of aging without one last adventure is stronger than their love for their family. They'll rationalize it, of course. The kids will be fine. We grew apart. I wasn't happy. But these are lies they tell themselves to avoid the truth. They chose their ego over their family. They chose validation over loyalty. They chose themselves over everyone who depended on them. That's the point. When you understand female psychology at this age, you realize it's not personal. Your wife isn't leaving because you failed. She's leaving because she's failing to accept reality. She's not running to something better. She's running from something inevitable. Aging, irrelevance, mortality, and you just happen to represent all those things she's trying to escape. Think about the cruelty of it. You were there when she was young and beautiful. You chose her when she had options. You committed when you could have played the field. You built a life, had children, created memories. And your reward for this loyalty being abandoned when she needs you most, when she's most vulnerable, when she should be grateful for having someone who sees past the wrinkles to the woman underneath. But gratitude requires wisdom, and wisdom is incompatible with panic, and society applauds them for it. So brave, living her truth, finding herself. Nobody mentions the destroyed husband trying to explain to his kids why mommy lives with another man now. Nobody talks about the children shuttling between broken homes. Nobody counts the cost of a woman's midlife panic. The modern woman wasn't prepared for this. She was raised to be a princess, told she'd always be special, always be desired. Always have options. Nobody prepared her for the wall that every woman hits. Nobody taught her that beauty is a depreciating asset, that male attention is a drug you need to quit, that building something lasting matters more than feeling something intense. Instead, she was fed a steady diet of you deserve better and follow your feelings and happiness is everything. So when her feelings change, when happiness seems elsewhere, when she thinks she deserves better, she acts on it. Consequences be damned, family be damned, vows be damned. I always tell the men who come to me broken by this, it was never about you. You could have been perfect, and she still would have left. You could have been terrible, and she might have stayed. Her decision had nothing to do with your quality as a husband and everything to do with her inability to accept reality. You were just collateral damage in her war against time. The woman who swore she'd love you forever meant it when she said it. But that woman was 25, full of hormones, getting attention from everywhere. The 40-year-old woman wearing her skin is a different person entirely. Different brain chemistry, different priorities, different fears. The woman you married doesn't exist anymore. She was replaced by someone who looks similar but thinks completely differently. And here's the kicker. She'll never admit this. She'll never say, I destroyed our family because I'm terrified of aging. She'll never admit, I needed strange men to want me more than I needed my children to have a stable home. She'll never confess my ego mattered more than my family. Instead, she'll create a narrative where she's the hero of her own story, breaking free from oppression, finding herself, living her truth. The worst part? There's nothing you can do to prevent it. If she's the type of woman whose entire identity is built on being desired, whose self-worth comes from male attention, whose happiness depends on external validation, then this crash is inevitable. You're not married to a woman. You're married to a time bomb. And somewhere around 40, that bomb goes off. You can't love her through it. You can't reason with her about it. You can't therapy your way out of it because you're not dealing with it. First, recognize the signs early. If your woman's entire identity revolves around her looks, if she lives for male attention, if she can't handle aging gracefully, you're in danger. Second, understand that her leaving isn't your failure. You can't fix someone's relationship with time. Third, protect yourself and your children. Document everything. Secure your assets. Prepare for war. Because when a woman over 40 decides to blow up her life, she'll take everyone down with her. The brutal truth is this: modern women weren't built for long-term relationships. They were programmed for attention, validation, and novelty. They were taught to chase feelings instead of building foundations. They were trained to see commitment as oppression and excitement as enlightenment. And when the excitement of marriage dies, which it always does, they panic and run. This isn't all women. There are women who understand that beauty fades, but character endures. Who know that excitement is temporary, but building something is permanent. Who realize that being chosen once and kept forever is worth more than being chosen repeatedly and discarded. But these women are increasingly rare because everything in modern culture tells women to be the other type. So if you're married to a woman approaching 40, watch carefully. Not for signs of cheating, but for signs of panic, the obsession with youth, the nostalgia for the past, the sudden need for validation, the resentment of responsibility. These are the warning signs that she's about to detonate. And when she does, she'll take your life, your children's stability, and years of building with her. That's the truth nobody wants to hear. That's the reality nobody wants to face. Women over 40 don't just leave, they destroy. Not because they're evil, but because they're terrified. Terrified of aging, terrified of invisibility, terrified of being ordinary. And in their terror, they'll sacrifice everything and everyone to feel special one more time. Don't say you weren't warned.